Hello and welcome to The Studio Demands It, an exercise in creative thinking where we will conceptualize, pitch, and craft a film or series based on the demands or stipulations from one of you listeners acting as a hypothetical Hollywood overlord. As professional screenwriters ourselves and massive cinephiles. We talk movies all the time. And we'd like to believe that we could meet any demand that is thrown at us. We will be your screenwriters for this episode. I am TC DeWitt, and joining me, as always, is Jim, Season 5, Brzelik.
Yeah, I've been waiting a long time for this season.
Yeah.
Because that's my middle name.
Yeah.
And so this is...
This is the season.
Yep.
We've finally met up to your namesake.
It's true.
It is happening, Jim, Season 5, Brzelik. Mm-hmm. I mean, JSB, you want me to call you that for the remainder of the season?
Yes.
Jim, Season...
No, do not do that.
JSFB?
No.
Season 5, is it hyphenated?
The initials are JS5B.
JS5B. Yo, what's up, JS5B? Don't do that. Season 5.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
It's super cool.
Yeah.
Who knew that we would be talking this long?
Oh, well, I mean, we would have been talking this long. Who knew we would record ourselves talking this long? But yeah, thank you for all of those joining us for this episode and for this new season. I just want to do a quick plug for our Season 4 finale and table read, Mystery Inc. and the Threshold of Chaos, which is now streaming everywhere where things stream.
It's true.
So please go check that out. If you are just joining us to listen to the show because of that table read, we've succeeded.
Yay!
Yeah, we've roped you in. And if you are from Hanna-Barbera and you would like us to go ahead and just make that movie...
we will gladly let you tell us to do so.
To do so. Okay, good. Yeah. All right, good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Hanna-Barbera. Hannah.
And Barbera.
And Barbera. Yeah. So, yeah, Season 5. So we have a couple milestones this season.
Ooh.
We will hit the 100th episode this season.
Uh-oh.
And there is a plan for that. We have something cooking in the works for our 100th episode. And that's all I'll say about that.
Is it Y2K?
It's yes. We are going to reboot. The studio demands a new Y2K. When we fixed Y2K, all we did was give ourselves 24 years. It was the only patch we thought we'd have at the time.
It's true.
You idiots. So it's Y2K4, Y2K24.
Yes.
That is the premise of the movie, that when Y2K was successfully diverted, it only gave us 24 years to do so.
Yeah. Well,
the smartest people in the world.
Because New Year's Eve is when it would happen.
Yeah.
And if we have 24 to do it, so it'd be Y2K25.
Y2K25.
Yeah.
And so what happens? Is it just what we thought was going to happen in Y2K? All the computers, everything rolls over. It's 1900 again?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So cars stop working.
Yep.
Cell phones stop working. Jim, what would we do? We wouldn't be able to look up what the most licensed song is if we didn't have the internet.
Would we be able to record this podcast if we didn't have the internet?
Well, as discussed, we would be talking anyway. Hello, all. Thank you for coming to our corner. We're just out of the balcony.
We're just having a soapbox. We'd be those guys out in a park just yelling at each other about movies.
Don't go by those. It's the movie, guys. Thumbs up, thumbs down.
We have opinions.
Thumbs up, thumbs down. Is that what it would? Was that what the world would turn into without social media? People just screaming out into the ether, literally standing outside screaming.
No, it would go back to what it was before. Like if the internet were to go away, yeah, we'd go back to
just small circles of people yelling at each other at bars and restaurants.
Yeah,
a better time.
And
Y2K25,
and newspapers, and cable, and shopping in physical stores.
Well, I've been told that the dream of the '90s is alive in Portland.
The 1890s.
That's season 3 or 4, right?
It is.
Okay, well, since we do have these microphones in front of us, and
yeah.
we do have opinions about movies, how about we get started here, huh?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Because Y2K25 hasn't happened yet.
So, Jim, our amazing listeners continue to give us demands from studios literally all over the world. And you, listening right now, you can send us any demand you'd like, and we will have to meet them right here on the spot. And when we reach the end of the episode, if we've done our jobs, we will have pitched a full script and story, meeting or even exceeding those demands. And when we reach the end of the season, that demand could very well have helped craft the script that is greenlit by the fans for our finale. So thanks for everyone who submitted. Please keep them coming. And, maybe by the end of the season, we'll have another fight over that final slot. And,
yes, we will.
Another Batman versus something fight. Mm-hmm. And then we'll just have to write that movie.
Yep, Batman versus
Scooby-Doo. Yeah. Okay, so kind of a double, two demands today.
Oh.
Okay, so we're going to start with this one, but I do want to throw a second one in here. So this comes from Cam at Staircase Studios. The MCU is having trouble. And it's not the fault of the films, it's the fault of the audience. Is the fatigue real? The Marvels was really quite great, but to bring the power back, it needs a great follow-up. Can the third of this franchise be the best? That's up to you guys. The studio demands Captain Marvel 3. Okay, so that's the baseline demand. A second demand here. There's the base demand, yeah.
That was a terrible joke.
Secondary comes from Nina Carnabal at Crackerjack Idea Studios. The MCU has given us a lot of TV in the past few years, but not all of them are as good as they should be. What would you do differently? Which character do you think deserves their own series? Okay.
Oh my God, that is such a huge demand. That's not just one half of one episode.
Now, okay, so well, we'll see. So the Captain Marvel 3, I think, is a demand. That's the one to tackle. The conversation about the TV stuff, I think, goes to something we've been discussing just regularly the past few months or so.
It's true.
So I want to fold this. I want to be able to meet the demand, but I also want to use this as a launch point for a conversation in regards to where the MCU is and where it could potentially be going beyond Marvel and whatnot. But I think that's where the TV demand comes in. Nina, what we're going to do, we will discuss the TV aspect of this, but maybe the idea of which character deserves their own series and having a whole secondary conversation, maybe we'll move that into Patreon territory.
Maybe.
Okay. But first and foremost, coming from Cam with a K and Staircase is a Captain Marvel 3. Jim. Well, there's a couple points there. Is the fatigue real? Is it the audience's fault? Because there's a whole lot of talk, we can't help but see it because of the circles we run in, of Marvel's over, people are sick of it.
Marvel killer.
Yep, Marvel's dead, and
I'm just so sick of superheroes. What's this latest celebrity said about their opinion about superhero movies? Well, I haven't been cast in one, so I think that they're overrated and unnecessary.
Excuse me, you look about 70 or 80 years old and have been making films since the 70s. What do you think of superhero movies?
I think all of these youngsters, comic books and candy wrappers shouldn't be made into cinema.
Yeah, Gary Oldman yells at Cloud from Final Fantasy VII. That's what happens there. So.
I want to see Gary Oldman yell at Cloud from Final Fantasy VII.
Okay, so where do you want to start here? We should obviously this is going to be about the Marvels and the MCU, but. We've discussed this. The fatigue is real, but it's not Marvel related. It's cinema related.
Well, and even then, yes. So it's being labeled Marvel fatigue, Marvel exhaustion. I have also seen it called superhero fatigue and exhaustion. And this year, or last year, 2023 was a very interesting year because that's sort of like the refrain of Marvel's finally failed. Reached. I don't know if it's at the peak yet. We got all of time coming ahead of us.
Well, we'll have to wait till 2025 because the only Marvel MCU movie coming out this year is Deadpool 3, which we will discuss when we get closer to Deadpool 3.
And as far as shows, they are still doing Echo.
Yes, Daredevil. What if?
In Daredevil?
I think so, but. Whatever the case, there is MCU stuff coming out.
Yeah.
So, but anyway.
And it was not hypocritical, not ironic. 2023 was an interesting year for movies because it wasn't just the superhero genre's failing. All of the movies, with exceptions, all of the movies failed. They all performed poorly.
$1 billion franchises failed.
Yeah.
Fast and the Furious, Transformers, and Mission Impossible all came in. They underperformed.
Yeah.
So when people are out there,
and those are the big ones that people are talking about and
Yeah.
stuff. The thing is, if I remember right, a lot of movies underperformed.
Yes.
It was what 5 did well. Guardians 3, Barbie and Oppenheimer.
Across the Spider-Verse, and even Across
Yeah.
the Spider-Verse did well without doing exceptionally well. Like
Yeah.
it's a weird line to put in the sand, but
For the Marvel's naysayers, the Marvels did well for the hand it was dealt.
yeah, the strike hurt a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it's to be celebrated. There's people out there celebrating that Marvel's
Yeah.
finally being taken down to the point where it's like, Scorsese, if you kept your mouth shut for a few more months or so, when you made that comment, people would have agreed with you.
Yeah.
Instead of getting chastised for having an octogenarian's opinion.
Yeah. I do wonder how many of the people who are cheering for or just glad to maybe Marvel will go away for a little while, how many ever liked it in the first place? Like, are these just the people who always disliked it that just are able to be heard now over the cheers?
Maybe yes, I think there's a part of that, especially on the online community that we're a part of with film criticism, analysis, and commentary. We are in an arena that's built upon screaming at the microphone.
Yeah.
We try not to do that. I don't feel like we do that too often.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Settle down. You're disproving my point. But we have a small sampling of people around us who exist in the realm of like, good, it's over, I don't like it anymore. So they liked it.
That classic hipster.
Yeah.
I liked it until it was cool. Kind
Kinda,
of thing.
yeah. It stopped being the thing you liked. But it should not be celebrated that the MCU is failing or that these franchises are failing, because if these franchises are failing, that's a problem, because they have been propping up the movie industry for some time now. And then there's the whole conversation about Disney failing and like, oh, in 2019 they had $8 billion movies. Well, yeah, because they cashed in all their chips to do that. They were never going to do that again. And then you made a fair point that Chapek was set up by Bob Iger to take the fall and yada, 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 yada. We're not here necessarily to talk about that. The fatigue for blockbusters is the problem, because it's becoming a lot of like, eat it. We know you'll eat it.
Yeah, that's true.
And the audiences are finally going like, no. You know what? Everything Everywhere All at Once was a blockbuster somehow. And that kind of told, and Maverick was a blockbuster beyond all reason, and that's 2 years ago. And I think the audience kind of, and Barbie and Oppenheimer, the audience is telling Hollywood what they want. It's just up to Hollywood to listen.
Yeah.
And not be like, oh, more toy movies. No. More
no.
Greta Gerwig movies.
Yeah.
Oh, more 3-hour men in rooms talking at each other conversation movies. No, more Chris Nolan movies.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of like that lesson to be learned. They won't learn.
No, they won't learn the lesson. Now, when it does come to Marvel, more specifically, when did it begin? 22 or 23? It felt like we were being choked by Marvel movies.
Amount of,
It was just.
There's too many shows, and I have a whole thesis I want to talk about with the shows, but we'll get to that later.
Oh, okay. That's what I was.
Oh, you want to get into that now?
I thought, well, yeah, because we're talking
Okay.
about Marvel exhaustion. Is it real? What's
okay?
What's the in it, because it touches on what do we think is the cause?
What's the deal?
For why people are saying this?
Yeah.
And feeling this.
As far as Marvel's concerned, I made this argument a few months back, and I feel like I had a good leg to stand on in this regard. It was the shows. The shows are a problem in so much as that they are coming before the movies. And,
Sure.
And I feel like setting up
That's a newer part of your thesis.
Yeah.
The newest part, actually.
I think the shows in general have affected people's taste or distaste for the films. If we had just gotten the films of the phase 4 and 5, I don't think people would be crowing as much as they are. But it's because of
I think we wouldn't be talking about Marvel exhaustion. We would just be talking about Marvel failure.
yeah.
Because I really want to champion these things, but and people did like Shang-Chi,
Black
Wakanda
Widow,
Forever.
Yeah, Wakanda Forever.
But I don't know. I don't hear like there isn't clamoring for more. Like, people aren't. I don't hear anyone saying Shang-Chi 2. Oh, why? What's that? When's that coming? Right?
Yeah.
Like there's no excitement for that. I guess the other element. Well, how many could even? I'm kind of floundering here, because technically Wakanda Forever has to pivot, and they kind of did in there because of Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah.
Black Widow can't really do more because that already came out years after it was supposed to, which is only partially true. Yelena
Florence Pugh, she's
is sort of like, she very much seems to be the legacy Black Widow.
correct. Yeah.
I get my guess is they have some more grand design for her.
Well,
I guess
Thunderbolts.
So then but that's just a matter of, okay, so we're going to take this character, and now they're just going to wait and going to fall out of the public's
Consciousness or what have you?
thought, view, and
I feel the mistake was, I kind of brushed on this already, was the shows came before the movies, and it should have been the other way around. Because the best of the shows, by and large, are the shows. So WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and Loki, and I think Hawkeye too. I think those four are the strongest of the shows because they are the characters existed in the films, and now we get further adventures in the shows. Moon Knight.
I think thinking about that, the other strength of doing it that way is that way if people don't see them, they're not quote unquote missing out.
Right. Ms. Marvel, Moon Knight, Secret Invasion. Now, Secret Invasion is kind of like disproving my point because it was more Nick Fury. But the thing is, specifically with Ms. Marvel and Secret Invasion, they would have been better received and stronger shows if they came out after the Marvels, not before.
I agree.
I would.
I think that's a strong hypothesis.
I would barely change a thing in Ms. Marvel. It falls under it's missing an episode rule. Like,
sure.
Right in the middle, it jumped real quick to the next section.
I mean, if it's not as easy as just switching when these things come out. Like Ms. Marvel actually would need to be rewritten. It would be a different show if it came out after this.
No, I would still maintain the origin aspect of it.
I don't that detail. I don't know if I agree with.
Well, we can split hairs on that. It's Secret Invasion that's the main one, where it's like that show means nothing.
Yeah.
They did nothing in that show that affected anything. It was you got suckered into buying the tie-in comic book. You are reading the X-Men Civil War run, and it means nothing.
Well, and it got rid of a character that 2 movies touched on being a well-rounded character that, frankly, I looked forward to seeing more of. Actually, 2. It got rid of 2 characters that I love. Maria and Ben
Talos.
Talos. Thank you.
Yeah.
Maria Hill and spoiler.
Yes.
If you haven't watched
Secret
Invasion,
you've had time. So
Jim dislikes that one the most.
The most, yeah. And although it still falls under my idea of everything Marvel makes is somebody's favorite, that still rings true because I do know people who like Secret Invasion. But for my taste, I have so many issues with like Close But No Cigar for Secret Invasion, where it was like, I thought Olivia Colman did great. That should have been Contessa Valentina. That should have been Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Killing Maria Hill in the first episode, I should have saved that and not killed Talos. And Talos should have been in the Marvels as the leader of that small Skrull community. And there's just that like, slight adjustments. The studio demands it. So like, just move here. Because, so we're kind of all over the place. But Ms. Marvel as a show, like I know people who are watching it now that they've seen the Marvels and are in love with it. Like, oh my God, more of her and her family. Yay. Perfect. They were introduced to these characters in the movie, and then they went and saw the show. Great. Yeah. That's how it should go. I think that's what the mistake of the shows are. Because even introducing us to new characters in the shows with zero guarantee we'll ever see them in cinema feels like a mistake. Like Moon Knight, if the Blade movie was Blade, Black Knight, and Moon Knight, the three of them all running around London fighting
Which is
supernatural
what
shit.
I think it's going to be. Yeah.
Yeah, we may touch on that later this season. Then the Moon Knight show following that could be exciting. This is all armchair quarterbacking,
yeah.
but that's what we do on this show.
It's true. Well, now that you put the idea that the show would just be as is, it would just take place before the movie. That feels weird to me. I don't think I like that. I'm off. I'm getting off this train.
Hey, wait, come back. Get back on. Get back on the train. Get back on the train. I'm holding your ticket.
Okay.
All right, get back on. It's very dangerous to get off of a moving train. I'm not saying that's how it should be. I think the Ms. Marvel show, the content of it was so good that it's like I would barely tweak it. But it doesn't have to.
Sure.
It could open with the origin and then fast forward to after the movie, just to show us how she got the bangles or what have you. But I stand firm in that the show should support the movies, not the other way around.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Because The Marvels is good. The Marvels was a lot of fun. People talking about like, ooh, it's the shortest one. Okay, yeah. I mean, sure. If we're gonna sit here and make any tweaks to The Marvels to kind of push ourselves towards,
let's talk about that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm willing to go around.
Yeah.
We're on a train with many tracks, Jim.
Oh man.
Do you want to go
Isn't
anywhere
that
else?
just a car?
Look, hear me out. It's a train
Yeah?
with no tracks.
Oh god.
So you don't have to be limited to the track, okay? You can just go everywhere.
But then how does it? What does it follow?
It's whatever's in front of you, and then when you get off, you just jump off,
Oh,
and then the train just crashes somewhere.
beautiful.
But before you jump off, you can choose to run over your grandma or a group of orphans.
Oh,
Yeah, but you have to pick one.
only one?
Yeah, it's a train problem. Only one. Okay, where do you want to go? This is a big.
I guess let's do a mini review of the Marvels.
Okay.
I very much enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I thought it was very well done. All the complaints I saw about it, I felt were entirely baseless. And it's not that the movie is sinless. There are things that could have made it better. But they were never the things anyone complained about.
Okay.
Like all the complaints were like weird social stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Like ladies in a movie.
Listen. This is not a genre for little girls, which is one of the dumbest arguments.
Nobody likes Brie Larson.
Wrong.
Yeah.
Look at my Instagram.
Like my issues. Oh gosh, actually, it's been a while. I've kind of forgotten. My issues had they were like small logical leaps. But the movie was moving at such a pace, and it was enough fun that it was easy enough to hand wave away.
Yeah. I saw it twice in theaters, and I enjoyed it both times. The second time, I enjoyed it a bit more because I wasn't sitting there waiting to see what's going to happen. I had the story in front of me, so I could just pay more attention to how they got from A to B to C. And there were moments where I'm like, I think I can see where the cuts are. I can see where scenes were shorter than they probably originally were. And that speaks to the pace of the movie.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily criticism, it's just more of an observation. The biggest moment of like, it was what script-wise you'd call end of Act 2 and breaking into the third act, which is the lowest points. They just failed at saving Eldani,
the musical planet?
the singing Disney princess
Yeah.
planet, and Kamala zaps them away before Carol wants to go, and they end up in that field and they crash, and it's like, how could you do this? And they have, I don't know, a 2-3 minute conversation about Monica to Carol, and it's all resolved.
Yeah.
That is the end of 2 to 3 section where it would slow down, they'd go their separate ways, they'd have their crisis of faith, come back together, heal their wounds, and then rally together to launch into the third act. And it felt real fast. Like,
Yeah.
I'm crying and now I'm not. And I'm like, there's probably a more...
little more.
even just a little bit more.
Yeah.
That was something in the second viewing that really stuck out to me.
It stuck out.
It stuck out to me. It stuck
Yeah.
out to me.
I got caught up on during the finale, the Act 3. The why would the Bengals destroy Durbin? Was that her name?
No one knows.
That wasn't her name. It was something like that. But not Miss Marvel. Why was Miss Marvel able to?
She's a Darben. Sorry,
Darben. Not okay. So I got
close.
You got close.
Because she's a mutant. She was made for this. She literally says it.
She did, but like, a quippy one-liner, like
it is a verbal hand wave.
that's what it is, and I didn't want it hand waved. I wanted like something like I don't know.
Even just a moment of like, what if I touch these and they kill me too? Well, we have to try
something like that, or re-acknowledging the whole mutant thing, in the movie, right? Because it's not said in the movie,
right?
Something like that.
And that's a couple lines of dialogue.
Yeah.
I just the movie felt real tight, real solid.
It was.
Like they cut together a real fun adventure film.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if this had come out, this exact movie in some weird vacuum of time and space had come out in like Phase 2, it'd be like a top tier Phase 2 movie. Like, I think that it has the right sort of energy and fun.
Sure.
Or even like the same. It has the same energy and fun of like Spider-Man: Homecoming, where it is having a good time telling its story.
Okay.
And I think it is. It's just people have this like chip on their shoulder when it comes to Disney and Marvel and Brie Larson and want to rake it through the coals, while just saying this is the worst one. How many people are so happy that's the lowest opening of the entire Marvel history?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So all of this is to say, this is all building off of. I feel like I'm rambling. Building off of the Marvel exhaustion note, right?
Is the fatigue real?
Is the fatigue real? Did we make our points?
I think that the when it comes down to it, we are still enjoying these movies.
Yeah.
The audiences at large aren't.
So are we Homer Simpson in hell being fed donuts?
More donuts.
or I don't know. I think it is it.
Well,
I don't know what it is. That was terrible vamping.
According to, I was just plugging in my computer. You're fine. According to Cam here, he did say that it's the audience's fault, and that goes back to like our initial point that we were making about there's something happening with cinema right now, and it's not just a Marvel problem; it's a cinema at large problem.
Mm-hmm. I remembered one of my rants about audiences,
okay,
and how it's the audience's fault, and it's partially the audience's fault. It's people talk about how none of these movies are landing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, The Eternals sucked, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, no one cares, and all that stuff. And what I kept looking back at was Phase 1, and the movies that people were really responding to. It wasn't banger after banger in Phase 1. It was Iron Man hit real hard, that people were willing to sit through. The Hulk.
Right, the Incredible Hulk. Yeah.
Thor, people really liked. Who cares what my opinion is?
Divided. We'll say it's a divided opinion.
And then I really liked Captain America, but it didn't do it as well as the others.
My first viewing of Captain America: The First Avenger, I didn't. My expectations were way too high because I love the Rocketeer. But then the Avengers happened.
Sure.
And from that point on, they had a blank check to do whatever they wanted. The first $1 billion movie.
Even Iron Man 2 was before Avengers.
Yeah.
And people hated that movie.
But Iron Man 3 is their first $1 billion movie. The movie that came after the Avengers, which goes to your whole thesis.
And that's the Iron Man they complain about the most.
I know.
Which is weird. I think it's the second best Iron Man.
I agree.
And I like Iron Man 2.
to your broader point.
That people have this different perspective on these new movies. There's this expectation that they're all going to be Avengers,
right?
And that they're all going to be hits, right? Like I remember after Avengers, Ant-Man came out, and people were like, "Who's Ant? I'm not going to see that. I don't know who Ant-Man is." And I'm like, "Are you kidding? It's Hank Pym.
Yes.
This is going to be great." And then when it happened, it wasn't Hank Pym, and I had to learn who Scott Lang was and learn to love Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
How hard, how difficult.
It was a complicated time.
But the people who saw that movie were like, "Oh yeah, this is a lot of fun." The people who didn't were like, "I don't know who that is, so I don't care." But that's exactly what's been happening with this newer stuff, and it's just we're so many phases in now that people, I guess, are even less tolerant of new things.
Yeah,
Like-
you'd actually mentioning Iron Man 3 and Ant-Man. I'm flashing back in my head now. I remember how annoyed people were at the misuse of Extremis and the reveal of the Mandarin, which I thought was freaking brilliant.
Yeah.
And Ant-Man got a lot of like, Edgar Wright was supposed to do this. Did you know? Yeah, he didn't. Okay, Tim Burton was supposed to direct a Superman. Do we want to talk about that too? Things happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was supposed to be. And I feel like that was sort of the beginning. Those two movies, people complain about Iron Man 2. Have people always been bitches about MCU movies? Now that I'm saying this out loud.
Yeah. I actually, I'm going to say since then, that's when there's been some sort of public notion.
But that goes
a voice out there that's
Yeah.
like, these aren't that good.
But then that goes to you saying we're so many phases in. They need to be better movies. They need to be better than better movies because you said there's less tolerance. I think you're right. I think that I think you're right.
I don't want to. I don't want to say that they have to be. I'm saying that's what the expectation is. I think the movies are as good as they've always been. How's that for a hot take?
Well, hey, you
that it's hindsight. We've had similar discussions about Star Wars. The whole we hated the prequels, and then some years passed, and there's people who grew up and those are their jam. They're like, yeah, okay, you oldsters, you like whatever those 70s ones were. They were the 80s as well, whatever. The prequels were where it's at. These new things are garbage, and like we're gonna get 10, 15, 20 years away from
The
7, 8, and 9,
yeah.
and there's gonna be kids who are all about Babu Frick.
Yeah. The same thing's happening with these Marvel movies because there are fans of the Marvels and Captain Marvel and Doctor Strange too. Because it's not a hot take with me that they're as good as they've always been. Because I believe in the good to great theory.
Yes.
Marvel makes good to great. If you've listened to the show enough, you've heard me say that before. There are very few that are at the bottom of that list, like that really seep into the is it good territory where I'm like. I don't want to have to fight you on this, so let's talk about something else. But in general, good to great, and everything is someone's favorite. But to bring people back in, specifically using Captain Marvel and coming up with a third Marvel's movie, what do? Can we conceptualize something that's the movie that people reevaluate Marvel from? The gamble here, or the issue here, is to consider everything that is going to happen.
Yeah.
And I'm going to use this as an example. Daredevil Season 2 follows up one of the all-time best Marvel property. Like, Daredevil Season 1 is so good.
It is.
One of the best villains in Vincent D'Onofrio. Charlie Cox's Daredevil is just on point. Like, the hallway fight, like, it's just such a good season. And Season 2 suffered because they had to set up the Defenders.
Sure.
And what is good in Season 2 is good. That first 4 episodes with Frank Castle, chef's kiss. But as soon as we get in Elektra territory, having to set up the hand for the villain and the Defenders, then you can see the studio making demands. But then Season 3, they were free of that. And they could do whatever they want. And Season 3 is as good as Season 1 in a lot of ways.
Okay.
So, that being said, if a third Marvel's movie is going to exist, should we place it in the midst of everything that's going to come, take all that into consideration, use it as a launch pad, or do you want to craft a Marvel's 3 that is independently its own film? Do you see where I'm going with that? The demand isn't
think
clear
so.
enough. It just
Yeah.
says
Make a third
make
one.
a third one. Yeah. So that is the.
My first inclination is to make it its own story. We not tying it like, oh, it needs to come out right after Kang Dynasty and before whatever. So I would think it would be better to have it stand on its own.
I agree. Where we're going to come in trouble, where we are going to come into some trouble, where we're going to get in trouble. What's happening to me over here? Is I don't know. I don't know Captain Marvel well enough to draw from the existing material to pitch something.
Me neither.
Except one thing. The best-selling Captain Marvel comic is Civil War 2.
No, I don't want to do Civil War 2. Full disclosure, I didn't read Civil War 2, but the highlights and summaries I read, I did not care for how they tried to reprise that story arc.
Yeah, no, it's not one that should have been reprised.
What if Minority Report happened?
So that being said, to try to come up with an independent Carol Danvers Marvel's story within the MCU, we are we going to go rogue here, and we're going to pitch something just utilizing the character without using the source material?
Rogue? Did you put a little hint there?
Did I make a face when I made the pun? I don't know, Jim.
You didn't actually.
Rogue.
Oh, there it
Should
is.
I back it
there
up?
it is.
There we go. So those who may not know, Rogue, as you know her in the comics and in the cartoon series, it can fly, has super strength. I think those are her two main ones, in addition to her absorption powers. She received those by killing Captain Marvel, by sucking the...
And it was because there have been several Captain Marvels. That was Carol Danvers.
Yes.
She did that too?
Yeah. How did Rogue get her powers? Was by in her comic book appearances, she is depicted as a mutant with the X gene, right, and all that. But she absorbed the entire life force attributes and memories and superpowers of Carol. So that's not something we probably want to do, is kill Carol in order to introduce Rogue.
So, no. If the mutants are introduced before this movie were to come out,
Right.
I would want and hope to set something up. Have Carol Danvers die in that. Give Rogue this tragic intro of her killing Captain Marvel and having that power in whatever movie she's in. And in this, it would be her resurrection.
Oh,
And I realize
okay.
that may not be a very long death, and so there'll be people to complain about that. Like, oh, she was dead for 2 minutes. And be like, go read a comic book. That's how this works.
And to be fair, this happened in 1967 is when Rogue did that to Captain Marvel. And Captain Marvel is a very complicated character. She's a legacy character. There have been multiple versions. Carol Danvers, the badass, was initially like the secretary to Captain Marvel, like Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
So you're suggesting that if the MCU decides to do mutants beforehand, independent of a Captain Marvel movie, you would kill Captain Marvel in an X-Men movie?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I would.
Well, first it's the X-Men. I think that's I think it'd be fun to introduce Rogue in a way that's more aligned with the comic book, where she was not only was she this mutant with this life-sucking power, but she was actually a bad guy.
Yes.
Right? She was Mystique's assistant.
Mystique's assistant,
So they don't have to do that, but I think it'd be interesting to introduce her that way. She accidentally, because I think it was an accident even in the comics, accidentally kills Carol Danvers, and that's what brings her to Xavier. Right?
Yes.
She's like,
what have I done?
Yeah.
I kissed a boy, put him into a coma, and then I killed someone too.
Right. So then you get the shock of, they killed Captain Marvel.
Arguably
and we
one
all
of the
we
most
all
powerful characters in the comic.
yeah, and that's super cool. But all audiences, they're not super worried, so there's not much investment because advertising for what's coming out next year has already been out there, and that's our Captain Marvel 3.
Well, Captain Marvel 3 is still coming out. She's not going to stay dead for long. Let's back up here. I like the idea of Rogue being some sort of antagonist to. So, okay, here's the thing. In the comics, in 67, when this happened, she was left for dead. And then Carol was gone for a while. Okay. And then it's like, she didn't really die. She was just so depowered, she had to recover from it. So I'm gonna suggest this. I'm gonna suggest we introduce a very low-tier thieving team of Mystique and her brood, and Rogue is her little, like, hey, touch this guy to get the code to this thing. Like all she has to do is tap a guy and she gets his memories. Mm-hmm. So it's like break into this bank vault and stuff like that. Having them start low tier and escalate them as villains to bigger and bigger, to a cosmic level, where then they become a threat for Carol to face, and then Rogue and her, like, hey, help! I'm just a teenage girl. Help me! And then as soon as she gets close enough, she grabs Carol and starts absorbing her power, and just make Rogue first reluctant, but then just a straight up villain. So then you can have these two punch the crap out of each other until Rogue wins. Because then you have a redemption story for a villain turned hero, which has worked pretty well for Marvel movies, if you look at Loki.
Well, that's the only one.
I know. Justin Hammer should have been in Ant-Man and the Wasp. That has nothing to do with anything we're talking about right now. I just feel like saying that from time to time. No, okay, so the hardest thing on my cell is to take a group of thieves and turn them into a cosmic threat. I don't know how to pull that off. I mean, we can come up with something. Yeah. But what do you think of that?
Essentially, that's how the Guardians started.
Yeah, but they were already cosmic to begin with.
Sure.
So if we're going to start Earth-based and work our way up to cosmic, that's the longest walk.
Here's what I don't like about actually utilizing this in our pitch, in our movie here. Mm-hmm. I think it touches too much on mutants and assumes too many things about what they're going to do with mutants. Now, granted, the whole point to our podcast is we can say and introduce what we want, especially if they haven't.
Right.
But I would rather leave Mystique and Rogue and all of them to their devices.
To their own devices. Okay.
And I'd rather deal with Captain Marvel on her own. And I've been trying to think of a nice cosmic threat.
Well, I mean, she already her like the Supreme Intelligence is like a huge villain for her. She already took out the Supreme Intelligence at the first one. MODOK is typically a villain for her as well, and we've seen what they've done with MODOK.
Yeah.
But there's things like the Brood.
Oh, sure. That'd be fun.
Now we're basically Carol Danvers versus Xenomorphs.
Yeah.
That doesn't exactly ring fun. If we look at Marvel, what Captain Marvel has been so far, it's been a lot of like action adventure fun storytelling. Mm-hmm. The Brood, having her face off against Xenomorphs, that feels like it'd be more appropriate for a darker tale to tell. Mm-hmm. Maybe save that for a Nova movie.
I was trying to. Introduce the Novas?
The Nova Corp. Revitalize the Nova Corp.
We've been wanting to do that. But a Nova movie all on its own would be cool. But that's not how these work anymore. Marvel movies introduce other characters
all the time
in other movies before they. So we could incorporate Nova. We could even maybe Nova's not the primary villain.
Well, more like
not Nova. Maybe the Brood isn't the primary villain.
If I'm maybe a Nova situation where Nova is the police force of the galaxy. They were and they were destroyed by Thanos off screen to get the Power Stone, gemstone, whatever, you know what I mean.
And they were already very weakened by Ronan.
Yeah. So having them rebuild Rick Ryder, you can bring in Nova Prime, or was that his name? Is Rick Ryder Nova Prime?
I don't know. I'm pretty sure there's a more current Nova storyline that I know that there's a bunch of fans wanting to see.
Richard Ryder.
wanted to see
Is Nova.
representation of on screen.
Yeah, there's Kid Nova, who would be teed up perfectly for Young Avengers. And Quasar, Nova Prime. Yeah, so I'd say Richard Rider, who is a humanoid, being almost like a reluctant buddy cop team-up situation of like Carol is a one-woman police force and Nova Corp is trying to establish themselves as a legitimate police force for the galaxy. Like we are sanctioned, we are approved planet by planet. You go willy-nilly all over the galaxy because you're Captain Marvel. Well, not anymore, you're not. It's the cop, like, who's in charge of this crime scene? I am. Not anymore, you're not.
Well, I'm trying to think of cosmic level beings, right? Like, I think it would be an opportunity if I don't see anything on the schedule that looks like it's going to get anywhere near it.
I think you're.
But if they to connect up Nova, potentially touch on what the Guardians were up to, and Eternals.
Eternals. Yep, that's where I thought you were going. Getting back to the Eternals would be interesting.
But real quick, actually, let's discuss what the Captain Marvel movies have been about.
Okay. Well, the first one is, chronologically speaking, there was a Kree ship, a Skrull ship got to Earth. It exploded near Carol, imbuing her with the cosmic power stone. Yeah.
The power cosmic. I always liked how it was described.
The power cosmic. And then, what's his name?
Jude Law.
Jude Law kidnapped her and then utilized her as a weapon with her wiped memory.
Yeah.
And she fought with the Kree, who were the baddies.
Yeah.
And then she realized, oh, the Supreme Intelligence is actually a fascist, awful entity that's been wiping out the Skrulls and spreading itself across the galaxy. I say nay to that. Destroy, destroy, destroy. Justice.
Specifically, well, so that's what happens in the movie. Thematically, what's it about? It's about her empowerment, her taking her independence, and embracing her power, right, and not being a tool of someone else. Was it full on gaslighting? I don't think it was actually.
Well, they just brainwashed her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I guess is just a more fully formed gaslighting. But getting free of that and coming into her own. It was a female empowerment movie. Mm-hmm. It was this woman who became independently empowered, and she went out and she knocked the heads that needed knocking.
Right.
The Marvels was thematically, it was about at least in regards to Captain Marvel or Carol Danvers herself. Mm-hmm. It was about learning once again to trust others and be a part of a team. And in this particular regard, you could even say sisterhood. Mm-hmm. And coming to terms with her past, the people she's let down.
Annihilator.
Not just the Kree, but also Monica.
Yeah. So power and responsibility. The first one's about power. The second one's about responsibility.
And healing.
Yeah.
So what could the third one be about?
Letting go.
Because I feel like that will determine how we move forward and which cosmic entities how we deal with them.
Okay, so yeah, that's a good question, and we're going to answer it after this quick break. How's that sound? Okay, we're going to take a quick break here. The question at hand that we must.
What's this going to be about?
What is the theme, and then that'll help us lead into a villain.
Yeah,
and other characters as well. Because another question is whether or not we want to bring Monica into this, whether we want to bring Kamala into this. Mm-hmm. My instincts say no right now. But that could be wrong because of how successful the Marvels are.
I don't know enough about Spectrum or what they're going to do with her. It seems like there's a plan.
Yeah.
Like that stinger seemed like there was a plan, and I assume it's going to be connected to the larger multiversal. Well, no, it is. It was a multiversal thing. Spoiler.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll be right back with after these messages from 6.5 Media. Oh, and we're back. Okay. All right. So, villains and theme and story and whatnot. Do you have any ideas?
I think it's vague. I don't have any actual story bits to go with it. But so we went from power, right? And revenge isn't the right word. Justice, right?
Yes.
And well, actually, the second one does touch on revenge. What she did to the Kree people was was beyond. That was a part that I felt was missing, right? I took out the
Hela, the homeworld. Hala.
She didn't take out the world, but she took out the supreme commander, the supreme leader.
Supreme intelligence. Yeah.
Intelligence. But then we find out she also took out their son.
I don't feel like she should have taken responsibility for that. That's on them.
But like if she did, they blame her. Whatever she did to become the Annihilator, they didn't show They showed us her fly into the city, take out the Supreme Intelligence, and she's like, and that's why they're mad at me. And it turns out her revenge went a bit further, and she killed their son.
But we didn't see it. But yeah,
we didn't see it, and so we don't really have a context for how or why she did that. But basically that touches on notions of vengeance, and so then the Marvels was about not necessarily in that movie's way, in as much of the way as an individual can apologize to a society, she tried to make it right. She fixed their son.
She took responsibility.
Yeah.
And went as far as she could to make up for that. So
I would think the third one would be then a step beyond that. So it's not even it's now handling her power responsibly. It's her learning how to be a defender. Is that the right way to put that? Sounds minimizing when I say it that way.
I think we have already laid down a bunch of stuff on the table that we can pick up to piece together this, because I do think that you're sort of on the right track here, and I have a notion as well that if the first one, I'm not going to recap it again. 1, 2, 3. She's at a point at the end of the Marvels where she learned how to work on a team. We've also seen hints that, at least in terms of for political maneuvering, she has positioned herself in a leadership role just to help that Aldhani. I think the next place to go with all that power is to truly put herself as a leader, and that a third movie would be about accepting the fact that she needs to be more than just the one-man show or a couple of her sidekicks going in or teammates going in. She is in a position where she could literally be making a difference in the galaxy as this representative of this is what someone with so much power can do for good and whatnot. So I'd like to suggest this.
Okay.
Having her still doing her galaxy hopping, planet hopping, her thing. She is a fireman. A problem happens, she goes to it. She doesn't do a lot of investigating. The Nova Corp being rebuilt, they are a police force that is actively looking for preventative law enforcement. They aren't answering calls, they are patrolling. So it's kind of in a dichotomy of what they do versus what she does. They are out there policing, she's out there policing her way. You get the difference between the two. So they would be coming in conflict. I think Nova and her would make a good antagonists to each other in a fun buddy cop kind of way. Tango and Cash. They have to work together even though they disagree on how to do certain things. The threat I would like to introduce would be like at the edge of the galaxy. They've faced Thanos and Ronin and all these threats that are easy to maintain and easy for her to punch. I want to suggest the Brood again as an infection of xenomorphs that are just, this isn't, you can't just punch the queen here and take them out. This is a threat that's going to require more than that. And in order to defeat an army like this, that's beyond an army, you need an army. The Nova Corp and Captain Marvel will need to work together to stop this threat. Okay. So it's more of a cosmic environmental a force of cosmic nature. Sure. That she is then having to face off against. And that would require her stepping up into a leadership role. So that those are the pieces of what I think could be a third movie. Okay. That it's the Brood is the villain. Mm-hmm. And she could even be like, I just need to find the leader of the Brood and kill the leader, or stop the leader, and then the Brooder stops. Like, that's not how this works.
I actually think a good way to go is she actually does a couple times. She finds them, kills the queen. Yeah. And then is like, oh, great, we're done. And then like, no, they picked a new queen. Yeah. And they're continuing to spread.
So, but the only thing that sets us up for, like, that's a good setup for everything. But then, how do you end this threat? Like, what is the ending to something like this? Friendship. They all just link arms and say, "You can't get through us anymore."
That's what they tried in Guardians. Yeah, but they're better at it now. Yeah. Red Rover, the Brood can't come over.
Yeah, you're not gonna get through our ass. No, you can't duck. You have to try to go there. Is that position some pieces on the table for what could ultimately be an interesting third film there for you?
Potentially, yeah.
The big cosmic space battle on a faraway planet. Yeah. Lots of punching things and exploding them because they're not human enough to be an R-rated situation. Mm-hmm. It's Starship Troopers is what I'm suggesting. Sure. But no, then that would make Carol a fascist analog for her.
Yeah. Man, the bugs were the innocent ones in that. That's so...
Wake up, sheeple. Poke holes in this. This is a sketch of an idea. Yeah. Because this is a cosmic story. This is planet hopping.
So what I'm thinking is neither of the Brood wouldn't be the primary villain, I don't think. Okay. So if there could be some sort of cosmic mastermind.
Okay, so that she then can punch something in the face.
Yeah,
got it.
Yeah, I don't really know who teams up with the Brood.
My first experience with the Brood was in X-Men.
Mine as well.
The Shi'ar and the Brood were always fighting, right?
They were, but that was still before my time. My very first encounter with the Brood was there was a nest in New Orleans that the X-Men went to clean up, and Ghost Rider was also there, and the Brood infected Ghost Rider, and so we got a Brood Ghost Rider.
Okay, let's toss some other characters into this mix then, because we do have some Eternals to play with.
We do.
Do we want to bring some of them in to get caught up in this mess?
Man, I really want to see what they're going to do with that cosmic judgment, cosmic court case
I don't think we're ever going to see that again.
Probably not.
Which is a shame.
Who was it that went to space?
Like who? Oh God! You're really testing my knowledge here.
It wasn't Kingu. He's still on Earth.
Yep.
And what did we use him in? We used him in
our Spider-Man, our MCU Venom Spider-Man with Tom Holland. Because everyone has another Marvel mentor character. It was Kingu, and Sprite goes to the school with Peter.
Ah, that's right.
Yeah, and so we had the two of them in there.
It was Cersei and
Thena.
Thena.
That was Angelina Jolie's character.
She went to. That's right.
Yeah, and
the guy, the kid,
Makari, the speedster.
She was she deaf?
Yeah, the deaf speedster. Okay. Yep. And then it was Barry Krogan's character, Druid. Yeah. So Druid, Thena, Makari, and I think it was just those three. Because Gemma Chan's Cersei got pulled away as well, but the three of them were on the ship together.
Oh, Cersei's off on her own.
Yeah.
She's the one going to court.
Yeah, exactly.
So Cosmic Court.
So hey, does anyone want to see Angelina Jolie again? Anyone?
Yeah, I'm sure there's
Okay.
people.
Right. So we introduced them in the opening of the movie, and they all three get killed.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Classic.
The brood killed them.
Yeah. What could be done? What would we do with them? Because at the end there, they were going to space to catch up with Cersei, right?
No, they all they went out to
were
find
just
their creators. Like they were heading back to the planet of their creation.
Okay.
And then they got Arishem the judge pulled them into judgment.
I don't know enough about the Shi'ar. Could we bring the Shi'ar in?
Ooh, but you're moving into X-Men territory here.
We are, but they are in space, and if we make a move to drive them closer to Earth.
So the Shi'ar with their weird helmets, they are an alien race that mixed up once the X-Men went cosmic, and Charles Xavier had a little fling with. He stopped pining over Jean and decided to have a relationship with the Queen of the Shi'ar. Thank you, X-Men cartoon of the 90s.
So
you know what?
So what?
That might be our villain then, because if the. And that kind of it's like poetry at Rams. The having a seemingly like the Kree were like we're the victims, and then they turned out to be the villains. The Shi'ar, they do have the Emperor of the Shi'ar is a villain in the comics, and he's a corrupt ruler. So to have him like please help us, we're being attacked by the Brood. It's like, oh, you bred the Brood.
That's where I was going to go. What if the Shi'ar now with this power vacuum?
Lilandra. That was.
Oh, there you go.
Sorry, that was the Shi'ar girl from that woman that Xavier. Anyway, go ahead.
Right. So we have this power vacuum in space. Nova Corp has been dealt a near fatal blow. They are a shadow of what they used to be, but they're trying to rebuild. The Kree, who were now who won their war with the Skrulls, the galaxy-wide war. Have also been defeated quite for a few years now. What with the Marvel, with what's been said in the Marvels,
and Agents of Shield,
So there's clearly this power vacuum in space as far as the empires go. So the Shi'ar have taken this opportunity to start spreading their power. And they are utilizing they're utilizing the Brood.
That is sort of their.
So
they don't sacrifice their own people. They have built this alien army that they can release on their enemies.
Yeah. But clandestinely, so that no one suspects that. Or do you think that they're just blatant about it?
No,
I
think as an audience, it might be easy for an audience member to go like, I don't trust this Dicken fella. This Emperor of the Shi'ar sure is okay with what these aliens are doing.
His name is Dick Ken?
It's Dicken. It's D''Ken. Well, Captain Marvel's got
Captain Marvel's everything. He's just Dicken.
Yes! It's happening now. It's got to happen now. So here's the thing that you've kind of by positioning like this, we have the Kree, we have Skrulls, we have the Shi'ar, we have the Nova Corp. Like crafting a film where Captain Marvel has to lead all these people against a force, having them being from different walks of life really helps. Like these are culturally like. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know where you're going with that.
Just being able to say, like, we all need to work together or we're all going to die. So stop fighting and let's fight the aliens. The xenomorphs. The Brood.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Oh, you want to take it there where the Brood get loose in this movie and everyone has to rally together?
Well, isn't that where you were going with?
No. I was going with... it's the Shi'ar. The Shi'ar is sort of the larger enemy here, and they need to push back the Brood while trying to stop the Shi'ar.
Okay, yeah, I'm on the same page.
Just taking out their leader, like she's done in the past, isn't going to work. So she doesn't do it.
Well, if they think it's the brood at first,
Yeah.
and that's not the answer. Killing
Yeah.
the queen isn't doing what you think it's going to do. There's more of these things. They just keep coming. Well, then I'll find the queen of the queen. Oh, surprise! It's a king. It's an emperor. So I think just the constant natural threat of these things and having to pop them, exterminate them, and being like, well, they keep coming out of the woodwork. We need to find the source of this.
Sure.
If that's Nova saying
I guess my idea is, so at the end of this movie, they've defeated the Shi'ar. The Shi'ar no longer control the brood. The brood, they're not stopped, but they're no longer the threat that they were. They're just now sort of out in the universe.
like cockroaches.
Yeah.
Someone's not actively breeding them and sending them out.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah.
But what that does is, I'm thinking further outside of this movie and for the greater MCU than I probably should be doing. But that way, at the end of this, the Shi'ar is a reduced power from the expanding empire that they were, and they're also weakened to the point that the brood are then go and are able to infect them. So now, when the demand comes in to do a Shi'ar X-Men movie, we have that set up with them being infected by the brood.
Great. Yeah, and I'm fine with that.
Okay.
There you go, Marvel.
So, the Shi'ar are going to be our bad guys. They don't at the end go, oh, we'll be good guys to help clean up our mess.
No,
Like, it's...
fight through the brood until it's get to the Shi'ar Emperor to get to Deken and have to face off against him. Does it end with a punch 'em up? Like, is it just a final boss battle? Because
So one of my criticisms of Wonder Woman 84, because I think Wonder Woman 84 tried to subvert that expectation by having the hero talk the villain out of the plan, and it was really underwhelming. One of the whole points to superheroes is they are embodiments of these forces, and we want to see them punch each other.
Yes.
We don't want to see them talk it out. So I feel like that's an important element.
But how do we set this apart from the previous films? So the first movie does end with a space battle. She fights a whole bunch of Skrulls. Nanrog, I forgot his name. Jude Law.
Jude Law.
Yeah. Yanrog and her, and he's like, all right, you and me, let's do...
Yeah. Because he kept saying, you don't use your powers.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for your powers, you wouldn't be all that big of a deal.
Yeah, great finale.
But I got him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Second movie, it's a 3-on-1 fight with Darben.
Yeah.
Ooh, Darben, Deken.
Here's what. It can be a punch 'em up fight, but she can't just wholly defeat him, because what he holds over her is basically a dead man switch. He's like, if you kill me, the brood will be set loose.
If you kill me, the brood will be set loose.
Yeah.
So she can't.
We set up a thing where it's not just punch 'em up. She needs to be clever about how she does this. Cleverer than I currently.
She needs to stop and detain him.
Something like that. Yeah.
God, even
and it's going to take coordination, because if I stop you, if I remove you from power in whatever way, all of these monsters are set loose,
right?
And all of our work is for naught. So it has to be a coordinated. Nova Corp has to get in place and set these things up. And if we want to introduce other things like the Eternals or the guard, I want to see more of Adam Warlock. I keep wanting to bring him in because he's that cosmic power. He's high power level as well. Whoever we bring in, they would need to be coordinated. So like we're good to go here, right? Like she gets the call over the radio that we're all good, and Deken is all like, ha ha ha, I got that in. She's like, it's go, and then
that's
she's
fun.
able
that's got some good humor to it, to be like you can't do anything, you can't do, there's nothing you can do, we're good to go, ding, and then hit the needle drop and have her just start like demolishing this guy. They're like,
Yeah.
you son, and he's just like on the heel back.
No, the Brood. No. It's,
and then
something like that.
Yeah, and having the Shi'ar Empire devastated in the end, because of their own doing, as opposed to she demolishing them, like dethroning him.
I was just about to suggest maybe he has somehow incorporated the Brood, so like he's secretly a Brood thing as well. I don't want to do that.
Okay.
I want the villainy to be owned by. I don't want it to be like, oh, and that's why he was able to. So no, they totally control them through machines and stuff. But to raise the stakes, the Shi'ar should probably have better tech, so he can kind of stand. But he has secret, like, Rancor type Brood monsters waiting in the wings that step out. So she has to fight him in his Lex Luthor tech.
Okay.
And these like 2 or 3 Brood giants.
How about this for to set up why he's strong enough to go toe to toe with her. I like the idea that he has like giant Rancor sized Brood for her to just like fight with, but to get a one on one, or involving her one on one. Richard Rider gets Nova Corp. They get a cool Battle of Endor situation over there.
Yeah.
Giving him some sort of manipulated power of our 3 Eternals characters, if he has them and is somehow sapped
their robot power.
Something, so they are robots. Like that's not a joke. That is true. He could somehow have because then she's not just fighting him for all this. She's also going to free these 3 eternal beings.
So they've been captured again.
Yeah, I mean they haven't. Yeah. That's my suggestion. Is that in some capacity he's sucked these characters of their abilities so that he can fight Captain Marvel, as opposed to just saying he has tech that can fight Captain Marvel. I'm trying to come up with a really good contrivance for it.
Thinking about those characters and their arc, though, it's, to me, like, even for side characters, that's a real bummer to like find out the truth. Like, oh, we were these unwitting murder slaves for eons, and now we're free, and now some jerk gets a universal remote and we're under his control. I would almost rather, like, their arc through this, one of the reasons they become involved is because of whatever control they have over the Brood. They're like, no one should live under that kind of yoke. So that's their stakes, or not stakes, but investment.
To free the Brood?
Weirdly, yes.
Weird. Okay. I mean, I'm not against that. That's an interesting way to go about it. They're environmentalists. These are not shark-infested waters. The sharks just live here.
Well, because kind of. Because the Brood are being utilized against their will by another force,
and bred to do this, like they're
for someone else's purposes and gain.
Okay, then how about this? I don't even. No, this wouldn't be possible. I'm going to throw this, and it's not going to stick to the wall.
Okay.
Which is fine. If he's not getting Eternals powers, he's somehow sucking the marrow out of a Celestial. Like, Nowhere, the head of is a dead Celestial skull.
What about a stone?
What, like an Infinity Stone?
Yeah.
Where's that coming from? They're all gone. Oh, well, okay.
Oh, yeah, they are gone. Okay. Sorry. No, sorry. I knew
you were going to crack open the multiverse.
I knew they were destroyed. I thought they were. I misremembered. So not a stone.
Yeah. If at the end of the galaxy, like where the universe ends, at the very edge of all existence, where all that's beyond the nothing is the nothing, there is a graveyard of Celestials, and he's just mining the marrow.
Actually, in the Marvel universe, at the edge of the universe, isn't there like a wall?
That's in DC.
Okay. He goes to the DC universe.
Oh, and yes, Disney, you got the money. Warner Brothers needs it. $100 billion.
Right now, I just none of those reasonings are resonating with me.
Well, the thing is that, like, the reason Dar-Ben could fight is because she had one of the bangles, which is an Eternals object. it is as ancient as the ancients, and so that's why she was able to go toe to toe with the power cosmic. That's.
I mean, we could introduce some more MacGuffins like that. Maybe he has one.
Another doodad that's tied into the Eternals, the ancients of the ancients.
Shang-Chi has the bracelets.
Yeah.
Miss Marvel also has
The
bracelets.
They're a bracelet organization. Sounds like the work of Big Bracelet. I mean, coming up with a who's a what's it that gives him his ability to punch and take a punch. Sure. I feel like with more time, we could construct something that's a little more elegant.
I don't know enough about the Shi'ar. They might actually even already have something.
Yeah. You don't like the idea of even just one Eternals having their power set being drained like a battery to help this dude?
If anyone makes sense, it would be Angelina Jolie's character.
Yeah.
But now her character's like... Her character was already tragic, and now she's like double tragic.
I wouldn't want to do that to her. Yeah.
Doing it to the deaf speedster.
That seems rude.
Kind of...
And
wait. Okay, so these Eternals have done this forever. There are other Eternals out there. That's actually part of what they were doing. Is they wanted, not only did they want to find their maker, there's other Eternal robots out there, right?
So the Celestials created them to seed planets to birth Celestials.
Yeah.
And they have been on an egg for eons. The notion is that they were the caretakers of every planet that cracked open a Celestial. That they were the same group that moved planet to planet.
Oh, so it was only ever these 10.
I believe so.
Because I thought we got a shot, a flashback of rows and rows and rows of them. And what I was going to suggest, giving our Eternals even more stakes, maybe D'Ken has actually dismantled and retro-engineered Eternal powers from their remains.
From what I can quick Google search here, there are just the 10.
Well, okay, never mind then.
But we don't have to follow things to the letter. Like we could, if you want to say he has one of the shells, or maybe a collection of shells of Eternals, and the entire Shi'ar Empire has been built by reverse engineering Eternals technology.
What if the Shi'ar Empire's technology is all powered off of a cosmic egg?
Oh my God! So like there was their planet. They sucked the.
They were going to be another one, and they're like, nah.
Okay, I like this.
They overcame. Well, but if our Eternals are the only
No, this can work. I think that if because they would have laid eggs all over the place that would have had to gestate for long periods of time, or if like once Earth cracked open, your next assignment is planet Shi'ar.
Sure.
Or eons beyond eons ago, they got away with this, where they one of our eggs died.
Yeah.
And then to prevent that from ever happening again, we made the Eternals.
Sure.
I mean, this is tying a lot into the Eternals lore, but
it is.
We
don't need to do that.
Okay. No one's asking for it.
Well, I mean, if we're going to make a MacGuffin, technically the bangles and the 10 rings, they're not definitively Eternals technology. They're just super old.
They're hinted at. Yeah, they're just super, super old. So we can just have it's somehow connected to the Celestials.
Yeah.
Weirdly, they teed up the multiverse, but that's clearly the direction they're going. They literally named it the Multiverse Saga. But there was a moment where it could have been the Celestials saga, where this could all have been leading up to Galactus.
Yeah.
And not.
I think if Eternals did better, I think it might have.
It might have gone that way and pivoted. Because much like initially within the.
I don't know if it would have been. I don't know if it would have been an all Marvel's story arc, but.
Well, like Ultron was supposed to come after Thanos. Like initially, like the early stage plans was like, we'll do Thanos and then we'll do Ultron, and then it was like, never mind, switch that. So maybe at one point they thought like, if the Eternals hits hard, we'll just lead this all up to Galactus. Oops, never mind, multiverse.
That, by the way, that was the other place I was gonna go. Is what if we introduced Galactus? So Captain Marvel is fighting the Silver Surfer. Like this dude is going planet to planet, and she's like, "Who is this guy?"
Oh my god!
And all these planets are getting destroyed along this path.
So then she has to punch Galactus in the face.
Yeah.
Okay, take everything we just crafted. I'm just going to slide it over.
You like
here.
that more?
Just for a moment. I'm just going to slide it over here. And the notion that it comes down, it's Captain Marvel versus Silver Surfer, who has the power cosmic as well.
Mm-hmm.
Punch, 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 punch. Why are you doing this? And Norrin Rand is like, listen, I work for a really mean boss, and he's coming here to eat eggs.
Mm-hmm.
More Eternals connections.
Mm-hmm. I think that's really good for Marvel lore. I don't know if that's, at least just on that notion, I don't know if that's good enough for
I'm picking
movie.
up our original idea and I'm putting it back on the table. I think
because honestly, this concept also, it touches on any of the themes that one would.
Yeah.
But
this one utilizes
in a nation empire size way.
And this has more characters to play with.
It ends up being, instead of Silver Surfer is preceding Galactus, it's the Brood is preceding the Shi'ar.
Yeah, I think that works better. It gives more to do because the Brood is this endless army of bugs as opposed to just Silver Surfer.
And not just bugs made out of the people of the planets.
Yeah,
I forgot the Shi'ar are just sort of pushing and taking that territory.
Yeah, I think as far as like a Captain Marvel movie goes, this does touch on a lot of like the fun stuff that the previous two have. It escalates it. She does have to like lead an army and put herself into a leadership position, and even ending up like defeating.
Well, and I like that it starts. She rejects it, right? Like the Nova Corp is like, we're trying to police. You're not policing. You're just. I kind of like the comparison to firefighting. That's a nicer way of saying it than being a military strike force. But essentially, that's what she's going around, and she's not making friends.
Yeah.
Right. And she's not keeping the peace. She's at best putting out fires. At worst, causing incidences.
Yeah. And the friends she does make are sort of ancillary to the problem. Like, I fixed this problem for you, and now we're friends.
The other thought I had maybe on the relationship between Nova and Captain Marvel in this is, what if we do a space Die Hard?
Die Hard 3?
She's not necessarily caught in space, but what if Richard Nova Richard Rider? What if he is Carl Winslow?
So he's Al, like trying to like coach her through this whole thing.
Yeah. While the rest of the Nova Corps is like, what are we gonna do? Who's this rogue person who keeps showing up and blowing things up and messing up the?
I wouldn't mind a portion of this movie being that,
Okay.
where it's like only kept like if one sector, like one planet of sorts, is like the atmosphere is so like the Nova Corps can't get on the planet.
Okay.
Like we need to get down there, but it's such a mess, and Captain Marvel's like, I'll go down there. And so she's fighting an atmosphere that depowers her. So now she's at a little more disadvantage, which makes a more interesting fight sequence. And she's getting like, Richard is or Nova is like on the radio with her, like, "You got this, John McClane." Something to that effect.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean that's if we can somehow reference a bunch of action comedy cop movies through the course of this, I'm cool with that. There's plenty of people out there who love buddy cop stuff, and if we can sneak in references throughout.
But I do like the idea that she refuses. She refuses the call of Nova. They're like, they might do the whole, hey, come join us, because what you're doing right now is actually very disruptive and not useful. And she's like, no, I'm doing something effective here. You are ineffective. Yeah. But over the course of the movie, she sees what she's doing is detrimental to galactic peace talks. I don't know.
The political nature of policing an entire universe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I even like the idea that once she finally like.
Don't know how to get there though. I don't know what kind of scenes we would need.
A lot of Senate talk.
Oh, yeah. Perfect. Moviegoers love science fiction senates.
I love political conversation. I like the idea that
this is sci-fi span.
when she sci-fi span, when she her costume changes, like she has the ability to like change her final costume to be Nova-esque, Like if it's their pattern color, like if like just mixing her costume with the Nova Corps so that just as a visual bit of solidarity to be like, yeah, we're all part of a team now, and even this signifies that. Not making a whole ordeal of it,
Yeah.
but just a subtle sort of thing. Like
I'm
in the last fight,
yeah,
she
yeah.
had Nova colors. Like
Yeah.
yeah. Yes. Okay. Question: do we want to bring in Nick Fury, or I as much as I like Monica, I think we have to leave her out of this because we don't know what the plan is.
Yeah.
But do you
I
want?
also don't fully know her power set or what level I'm not familiar with Spectrum.
Yeah.
So I don't know what power level she's supposed to be at or where she would fight. Clearly, she wants to go to space.
Mm-hmm. I don't think we should involve her in this one.
Okay.
But I do wonder if is Kamala have any place in this story?
If Spectrum doesn't, I don't think Kamala does.
I don't think so either. I think I don't know if that's a mistake because of
Here's probably why it's a mistake and why the studios that demanded us make this didn't demand this, but Marvel Disney probably would demand that they would, because they would look at the movies and they go, no, the Marvels succeeded. You need all three of these characters.
Well, if that's the case, then I don't think it would be difficult to insert them into this plot.
Yeah.
Having Kamala be the excited voice of reason of like, maybe we should get along with this guy. No. She's in a mood. She gets like this. I'll talk to her. Hey, Carol, don't you think? It's like, no.
God, any arcs I could think of for her, I think escalate her character too quickly.
For Kamala?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they basically take her from being the excitable youth and they make her a more mature adult.
A bit like Peter's arc in Infinity War, where he had to like, okay, I'm off Earth now. Shit, I'm an Avenger now. I'm gonna be fighting Thanos now. Similar to that.
Oh,
you mean?
maybe that's a good angle.
It's okay.
I'm
I've
not
been in
sure.
space before.
Yeah, those are all great lines.
But what's an arc for her is what
Yeah.
you're saying. Yeah. Did she have much of an arc in the Marvels? Like she got to be with her hero. Like it was a total wish fulfillment moment.
Sure.
And that's cool.
But it was also learning sort of the learning with great power comes great response. Like she had a bit of that in the show, but this was so much more. There was the wish fulfillment of being entangled with her hero.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there was more to it than that, and I just don't have the words for it right now.
Well, seeing as we're involving the Eternals, Kamala does have a connection to them with her bangles. Like, to be able to be like, hey, that's...
Do we know
our
that
tech.
that's Eternal Tech?
I'm deciding right now that it is Eternal Tech.
Okay.
It's as I said before, ancient beyond ancient. It when they did the 10 rings within Shang-Chi, it was referential to the Eternals. Like, we had seen the Eternal... Like, there is enough...
Okay.
There's enough red yarn to connect these things.
Okay.
I don't think it's a far shot to say, if we're going to bring Kamala along on this and then meet Makari and Druig and Thena...
Hang on. Did they rewrite Miss Marvel? Because in Miss Marvel, the bangle came from another dimension, right?
No, I don't think so.
Oh. Then
Yeah.
why did the people from the other dimension want why were they able to trace the bangle and want it to get back to their world?
Okay, where did Ms. Marvel's bracelets come from? Kamala finds that the bracelet in a box of assorted bric-a-brac sent
From her grandma.
to America by her grandma in Pakistan.
Yeah.
Revealed to be a source of a series connected to the Nor dimension.
Yeah.
Over the course of the series, to be connected to the Norse dimension. Nor dimension? What is the Nor dimension? Boy, this is fun.
This is some good radio. The reason I bring that up is because if that's the case, they've already shown in this continuity we're willing to redefine what certain things are and where certain things are from.
Okay. The Nor dimension is connected to Earth, but hidden by the veil of Nor that separates the two worlds, and it is the home world of the Jinn.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's on Earth. It's a pocket pocket dimension.
It's parallel.
Parallel
It's
to Earth.
not.
Yeah.
It's not quite a multiversal dimension,
yeah.
but it's like the quantum realm.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's where it's from. In that original story,
it just says connected to splitting hairs over here. I think it should be connected to the Eternals because then it allows, if she's going to be in the story, it gives her a direct connection to another one of our story elements. That's why I'm suggesting it. That the Bangles should be Eternals tech.
Okay.
I mean, we can sit here and keep arguing about it.
No, and I have nothing against it other than I want more. I want more concrete stuff for it, but we don't have more concrete stuff for it, and we're just going to keep going in this circle. This would all be stuff that would be hashed out with the Disney lore keepers anyway. Does Marvel Disney doesn't have lore keepers. Only Star Wars does, right?
What? Sorry, ask me again.
Star Wars has lore keepers, people
Yes.
who are responsible for just keeping track of continuity. Yeah. Marvel Disney doesn't have that, do they?
Oh, they do.
They do.
Her name is Amon Vellante.
Okay, so all this can be hashed out with Amon Vellante,
Who is Ms. Marvel.
We can hash it out with her, yeah.
Ms. Marvel's theory indicates bracelets that her... Ms. Marvel's theory indicates bracelets is an... This is very poetic, but
yeah.
is an Eternals artifact. That particular bracelet seems to be a reference to the interest amongst the Khan family... because when she asks her mother about her mother's very... This is bad writing, fandomwire.com. Okay.
Let's ask ChatGPT. No, it's fine. We're going to move forward. We're going to move forward with, in our script, we're going to suggest the Bangles are connected to the Eternals somehow.
So then... in the...
You know what? We can even make that... Because the planet that the other Bangle was found on was left behind.
Yeah.
And the one Bangle came with them to Earth so long ago.
Kamala can have the direct connection with these three Eternals in the midst of our finale.
Sure.
Like getting along with them. And so her arc could be coming to understand even more her relationship with these power bracelets and also why... she's not affected by them. There could be some mythology behind. I'm not giving her chosen one situation here, but just understanding the tech and her biology with these three characters who can answer questions for her.
Sure.
Cool. All right. And then Monica.
And then Spectrum gets a story too.
She punches things.
Feel bad.
Well, I really, if the studio did demand, say she had to be responsible, like had to be involved in this, and she's already been on one multi-cosmic adventure, like multiversal adventure. She might be a little, like when people see space for the first time, when they actually go above Earth and look down on Earth, there's like a
we're in outer space now, not even space anymore. We're in the outer part. That was a terrible Owen Wilson. That was a reference to Armageddon.
Someone got it.
It's a terrible quote.
But, like when people see Earth from space, it really affects them psychologically. If she's been on this journey through the multiverse and has come back, she might be like, I'm still fighting because I can, but I think I need to, like, slow down and come, like, I've experienced something that's so inexplicable at this point. So then she might have a direct connection with someone like Thena or Druig or
maybe
a character to be like who's more philosophical, to be like, yeah, your mind has been expanded beyond this universe. So she could just be having a crisis of like, what do I do? Like everything's changed, my perception has changed.
Sure.
And coming to terms with that, because
okay.
she might have a new. But if Captain Marvel like puts herself into a position of leading people and being a general in a sense. Monica's might be moving her into a more thoughtful, monk-like position.
I think, okay. Here, I like this. Carol's full arc is learning to be aware of the politics that she is affecting when she goes into these places, and in so much this encounter, she does sort of learn to be. She learns the responsibility of that position. She basically learns the political nature of what she is doing.
Yeah.
But I think in the end, it's Rambeau, Monica Rambeau.
Monica,
Monica, who becomes the actual connection and ambassador. Maybe not ambassador is too strong, but to Nova Corp.
Yeah.
Right. So because Monica is up there as a representative of Sword, still Sword, or just of Earth, and so then she's the one who then makes sort of the connection with Nova
Saber.
Corp.
Sorry.
Saber. Thank you.
So she's the one who makes the, like, maybe even having a seat in their whatever their UN is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. That her journey of like being out there and fighting. Just using more of her intelligence and yeah, I think
Because and the reason for that is because I think Carol needs to remain sort of the cocky pilot that she is, and if we make her a general, that takes her out of that, puts her in a command chair instead of out on that front line where she would be.
Having would Kamala go so far as to make Star Trek references? Because Captain Kirk is all like, don't let him take the chair away from you. Don't ever become an admiral. Stay in that chair as long as possible. Be a captain and travel the galaxy.
Maybe.
I'll wish fulfill Star Trek references in the MCU myself. So. Okay. And last but not least, is Nick Fury involved in this at all? I don't think so.
No.
I keep saying no, and then you talk my way.
I think a cameo in the beginning when Monica and Kamala
are recruited.
Go off to meet up with Carol for whatever.
I think this fight should be taken far away from Earth.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Okay. Then Nick Fury gets a cameo.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Anything else you want to touch on before we kind of call this right now? I know that going into the conversation of okay, so Cam asked us to pitch a third movie. That was the extent of it. Can it be the best of the franchise? I mean, ultimately, that's not up to us. We could do the best we can, but it'll be execution.
I mean, I think it's the best.
We did it, Cam. We did it. To Nina's point about Marvel TV and what's been good, what's been bad, which characters do we think? I do still want to have that conversation with you, but we'll move that into a different territory. But I want to reiterate my point that I think the shows should come after the movies as opposed to setting up the films, because that alienates people. Mm-hmm. And anyone can go to a movie and see that, and then if they're interested, then they can watch the shows.
I think we can take the Eternals out.
Okay.
It's neat to get more references. We're big nerds that like putting as many references into these things as we can. I think maybe we're going too big with them in there if it's just Nova Corp.
Yeah, okay.
That's who she's having to... Well, no, but that was the whole justification to bring Kamala, because the Bengals.
There can still be some references to ancient tech. We could just have one of them. Like, they could all have been separated at some point.
Because at the end, a couple more showed up, right? Like
Star Fox showed up with a very poorly CG animated Patton Oswalt.
Yeah, that CG will get better.
Yeah. It is demanded.
Okay.
Eos. It's Thanos' brother. We're so out of touch, none of us recognized Harry Styles. We're like, who was that?
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah. Okay, yeah, we can smooth that. Leave them in for now.
Okay, we'll leave them in for now, but if our listener feedback says take them out, then we will. But I think let's wrap up here.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's going to do this for this episode, but we would love to know if we did meet your demand today. So specifically, Cam, did we do it? Did we come up with a third Captain Marvel that... I think it's free enough from the multiverse saga that it could be placed anywhere within the midst of this. I don't think we did anything so lore fracturing that it would need to come before or after. We could slot it in anywhere. So, but that's up to you, Cam. How did we do? And that's up to the other listeners as well. Did we do this right? Agree or disagree? We want to know what we missed. Please, anything. You can message us directly at StudioDemandsit.com or on Instagram at StudioDemandsit. If you're not already, you can subscribe to us on any podcatcher of your choice. Thank you to all the new listeners who've come over since the table read for Mystery Inc. We appreciate all your new all these new listeners. It's great. But hey, you know what you could do? You could leave us a review. It's super easy. You can do it in the app, and 5 stars. What the heck? Why not? And throw a comment on there. I think this season we might start reading the comments from Spotify and Apple and I don't know, Stitcher. What's the Google one?
I don't know.
You can also find us on YouTube and TikTok, where we post video content, including material not heard here on the show. And if you want even more, as mentioned, we have a Patreon. For a couple bucks a month, you can get episodes early, as well as extended double-length episodes, which will include a conversation about Marvel TV in this particular episode. And we also have movie commentary tracks, and we have a commentary track for Captain Marvel, or The Marvels. Which one did we do?
Yep.
Okay, good answer. Go find out. Head over to Patreon. Massive thank you to 6.5 Media for everything they do for us. Please go check out the other shows on 6.5, including another Zelda podcast. David guests on our show every season. He is our godfather, so we love him. So, Jim, you've had some time for me to ramble through the end here. Has your beard twitched any new ideas?
No.
Okay, good. Okay, well, that does it for this episode. We'll be back again soon with another one of your demands to challenge ourselves to improve the world of cinema. I am TC.
I'm Jim.
And that is the show.
It is.